Okay, good vach. As we're in the week of Yites Kislev, so I want to share a story about the Alter Rebbe and the story about our Rebbe. The story of the Alter Rebbe goes back to the time of the Alter Rebbe. There was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe who was a peddler, and he would go out with his wares all week. He would come back on Friday evening. And the story was shared by Rabbi Moshe. He said that this chassid was once in an audience with the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe told him that whenever you travel, you should take with you 3 Challas. Okay? So he didn't know what the purpose of this instruction was, but as a chassid, he didn't ask questions, and he proceeded every Sunday when he would leave his home, he would go with 3 Challas. So he would have the 3 Challas with him all week, and then he would bring the 3 Challas back with him on Friday evening, and he'd use the 3 Challas shabbos. This went on for some time. So one Friday afternoon, he's on the way home, and this is a road he's very familiar with, but for some reason, he got lost in the forest, and he realized he wasn't going to make it home for Shabbos. Right before the advent of Shabbos, he was looking for a place to stay. And he saw this house right before Shkia. He knocks on the door, and this non-Jewish man answers, and he says to him, "I'd like to stay here for Shabbos. Can I stay here?" I says, "Sure, stay here, no problem." He takes the guy, he locks the front door, he brings him to a room. In the room, there's this huge dog, a huge black dog. And he says, "You have a wonderful roommate that will stay with you this Shabbos." Now, of course, he wasn't so excited to have this roommate, and he tried to leave the room. But his gracious host locked him inside, and he is frightened out of his mind, and he is really scared. The dog's going to wake up, and the dog's going to eat him. So he davens mincha with great tears and bitterness. When he finishes mincha, he begins right away to daven Kabbalah Shabbos, and the dog actually wakes up and is in the corner and doesn't do anything. So he remembers after he finishes Ma'ariv that he has 3 Challas. So he makes Kiddush on the Challah. When he makes Kiddush, the dog stands up on its hind legs, starts to bark, and he realizes the dog just wants a piece of challah. So he gives the dog a piece of challah. And he couldn't really enjoy himself. He was still very frightened of this dog. And he stays up pretty much all night because he's scared of what this dog's going to do to him. But the dog is totally fine, doesn't do anything. Wakes up in the morning and he does his morning prayers, and then it's time to make Kiddush. Again, he has 3 Challas. He had 1 Challah before, he has 2 Challas left, and makes Kiddush on the Challah. And again, the dog stands up on his hind legs, and again, he gives the dog a piece of the Challah. And that's how Shabbos goes. Then it comes Mincha, and after Mincha, shalom, and he gives the dog again stands up on its hind legs, and again, he gives the dog a piece of Challah. And that was how he spent Shabbos. That's how he finished these Challas. And then Saturday night, the owner of the home opens the door where he was staying and comes in with a shovel. And he realizes that his gracious host was expecting to gather up his bones and to bury him and to take his belongings. But instead, the host was shocked to see that he is alive and the dog's not doing anything. So the host screams at the dog, "Sick him!" But the dog doesn't move. He screams again, "Sick him! Get out! Go after him!" So the chassid at this point realizes that the ball's in his court, and he is in charge. So he tells the dog, "Go after him! Sick him!" And the dog proceeds to kill this man. And the chassid Baruch Hashem is now able to leave, but the dog goes with him. And the dog pulls him by his sleeve and leads him out of the home to a place in the forest where the dog tells him that there's something there, and he finds there a chest of diamonds and gold, and the dog proceeds to show him the way out of the forest, the way to get back to his house. And he follows the dog, and Baruch Hashem, he's successful, and he comes home. And now not only is he home, but he's home now with a wealthy man with this treasure. And after being home for some time, he goes again out to visit the Alter Rebbe. He tells the Alter Rebbe the story. The Alter Rebbe said that this dog was a reincarnation of the soul of a Jew who, while he was alive, he wasn't careful to make kiddush before eating. And the tikkun, the way to rectify his soul, was to hear kiddush from you on Shabbos in the house of this man. And the Alter Rebbe concluded, since you caused this soul to be fixed, so therefore this dog brought you to have this great treasure, and this is a reward for the tikkun that you brought to this neshama. The Alter Rebbe then told this chassid to open up a business, and he, Baruch Hashem, became very successful and very wealthy. This was the story of the Alter Rebbe, and I want to share also a story of our Rebbe. This is an unusual story to me. It sounds like a very regular story, but it's unusual because of the frequency of the Rebbe's blessings in the face of the grim words of doctors again and again. There was this great book by Rabbi Yisrael Haber. It's called A Rabbi's Northern Adventure. And he has really amazing stories throughout the book. To share one of them, he and his wife had a really hard time having children, but Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe blessed them with children, and each of their children is a story in itself. They were at first sent by the Rebbe to Alaska, and in Alaska, they built the first mikveh there. He was stationed there. He was on military duty, and the Rebbe actually instructed him to told his wife, Miriam, to help all the women there in the in Alaska to go to the mikveh, including, the Rebbe said, also Jewish grandmothers should also go to the mikveh as well, so that their grandchildren should have a pure grandmother. Anyway, so she and her husband moved from Alaska to the Golan Heights, where they serve as Chabad emissaries. And when she was pregnant with her fourth child, they did a routine ultrasound in her 4th month of pregnancy. And the doctors were very concerned about the baby's health. They told the parents that there's strong reason to assume for concern, the strong reason for concern. Of course, they were really worried. Even though they had gotten a bracha from the Rebbe before the pregnancy, they were still very worried. It was 1987. And they wrote the Rebbe an urgent letter. A few days later, they got a call from the Rebbe's office, and they said the Rebbe sent a letter back to them, and the Rebbe had crossed out the words that his wife had written. She's apprehensive of the birth. And in their place, the Rebbe wrote, there is no reason or basis for fear. And then the Rebbe wrote they should check their tefillin and the mezuzahs. So the Rebbe's assuring words raised their spirits. And of course, he went to check his tefillin and mezuzahs, although he felt there was really no purpose in doing this because he got them checked before, but the Rebbe said to check them again, so he got them checked again. And to their amazement, this sofer in Kiryat Chabad checked their mezuzahs and found a mistake in the mezuzahs and also a mistake in his tefillin shel rosh and his head tefillin. So after the mezuzahs were kosher, the tefillin is kosher, they decided they're going to do another ultrasound, hoping that there will be different results. They went to Rambam Hospital in Haifa, And the situation was very bad. The doctors said that there's real grave danger for the baby. They wrote to the Rebbe again, second time, actually really a third time. The Rebbe said there'll be good news. They were happy, but they wrote back to the Rebbe, the doctors are saying that the situation is very serious. So the Rebbe answered a fourth time, and the Rebbe said, their birth will be easy, and it's a proper time, all will go well. Serve God with joy, worship God with joy and a good heart. The doctors weren't convinced. In front of the doctors were the ultrasound results and not the brachas from the Rebbe. They told the parents, don't live with illusions. And so they wrote back to the Rebbe again. This was, I think, a fifth time. And the Rebbe told one of his secretaries to relay the following information. He said, gather your neighbors and make a Lichayim because everything will be okay. So they did what the Rebbe said, but it wasn't with such a happy heart. And they said Lichayim with a heavier heart than the Rebbe had asked them to, but they did gather their neighbors that said Lichayim. The next check at the Rambam hospital was in their 9th month. The doctors checked the baby and said, be prepared for the worst news possible. He called the Rebbe right away and told the secretary the doctor's opinion. A few hours later, he received the Rebbe's response. The Rebbe's letter was on its way, in which he repeated his instruction, make a Lichayim, not to worry, promising it was going to be an easy birth and that they would meet on happy occasions. It was really a strange situation because the doctors were steadfast that the baby's Cashapp going to die. And the Rebbe is saying, make a Lichayim. And he shared the story with some Chabadniks who were there, and they said, you're so lucky, like the Rebbe's giving you again, blessings again. What did you do? And he told them about the mikveh that he had built, and they said, it must be because of that. Anyways, the date approached of the birth, and they spent that Shabbos in a hotel in Haifa to be close to the hospital. And that Shabbos, they davened, of course, deeply that they should hear good news. In the middle of the week, Miriam had very strong labor pains, rushed to the hospital, and why check out the story? Baruch Hashem, a completely healthy baby. Doctors were totally shocked. And he turned to the doctors and said, guys, why such gloomy predictions? The baby was fine. So the doctor said, listen, one doctor says, listen, don't suspect us of wrongdoing with bad intentions. If we just go based upon the ultrasound results, but the ultrasound results can make mistakes. It's only a machine. The next day, a letter came to their house from the Rebbe, Mazel Tov. So point is, really, think about it. In both stories, like there's in the first story and the second story, the Rebbe gives instruction and has nothing to do, it seems, with the reality on the ground. And yet there's a plan and there's a destination and there is a Moshe Rabbeinu. And he's telling you where things are going and you don't have to look at anywhere else. And just realize that the Rebbe sees. There's a pasuk in chapter 33 in Tehillim, louder, stronger than the voice of the great waters is Hashem. So the great waters are referred to the sound of nature. Nature could be deafening. Listening to the sound of nature could be deafening. You hear it, imagine being Rabbi Yisrael, hey, we're waiting for that baby, and hearing again and again and again from the doctors, it's going to be a problem. And against those doctors, here's the words again and again from the Rebbe, it's going to be okay. So it was a really challenging moment, a not an easy place to be in. But as we now have the benefit to see the results of the Rebbe's bracha, and the bracha, of course, happened exactly the way the Rebbe said it was going to be, contrary to the advice of the doctors. In a similar way, we look at the world outside, we could say, gullus, exile, where are we going? We have to be steadfast in our emunah and know without a question. The Rebbe sees the Leviathan and the Shor Haber, and he said so many times that our generation is going to witness the coming Mashiach. And no matter what we see in the newspaper, on the radio, on the internet, to live with a little bit of emunah. This week is a week of the Geula, this Kislev. Hashem should help. It should be Misvach Geula. We should go for the Geula. Hamitzvah Shlema to Mashiach Tzekenu immediately tonight. And from there to the Geula of Yutas Kislev. A good vach and Lashana Teva mixes Dakich Sis Kasser Chasen. Good vach.
Amen. Amen. Shkoyach.
Yeah.